This is Topline Hotline with your hosts AJ Bruno, Asad Zaman, and me, Sam Jacobs, where we answer questions from the go-to-market community every week.
Topline Hotline. What is this, Asad? Is this me and you as co-hosts without the luxurious Sam Jacobs?
Man,
what are we doing?
I didn't know you were going to start with something. I'm impressed.
Well, that's a $5 million to whomever can get that. That is a isn't that the start of a TV show? Like
Is
a
it?
detective show? Which
Sounds
detective
like
show?
that.
From like the 70s.
Sounds like one. It sounds
It's on
like
I Dream of Genie. Anyway, we'll leave that for Sam for next week. This is Topline Hotline, friends, where your best co-hosts, Asad Zaman, CEO, STA, AJ Bruno, CEO, QuotaPath, and without Sam this week. Sam doesn't get to answer this question, but we have a good question coming in on discounting. Asad, what do we got this week?
So the question is, I'm going through a buying cycle with 3 players, and I'm trying to balance getting a great deal for the company versus choosing the right product. Can you give me a framework to think about this? And so, AJ, I guess the question here, if we break it down a little bit, is we all have to be great buyers, right? Because it's not about growth at all costs anymore. So it's not about just generating revenue. It's about spending money wisely. All go-to-market leaders, CEOs, founders are capital allocators. So you need to know how to get good deals. But a good deal is not always just the best price, but sometimes it means getting the best price as well. So how do you think about this? How do you balance these things out?
No, go get that best price. Just go tell them you'll sign at 11:59 p.m. on 12/31. I think I've talked about this before, that I've got the latest deal I've ever gotten was a deal from Guam at 11:30 p.m. on December 31st, which is,
oh my God,
2008. Wild year for
really?
Yeah. There was like cold call. Basically, it was a cold call close. No, it wasn't Guam. It was Chaminade University in Hawaii, and I did it on like the 31st of a month. I would love to say it was December 31st, but it wasn't. And I got the contact on the phone. I never talked to her before, and took her through a demo 6 p.m. Hawaii time, or it wasn't 6 p.m. It was probably like 3 p.m. Hawaii time on the East Coast. So that's 6 hours difference. And she signed a $5,000 contract that night.
Oh my.
I know, killer seller.
So my business doesn't have these dynamics. Like we don't have an
Yeah,
end
because you don't have quotas.
Yeah, we're just wild animals. And so, because with talent, you're not going to be like, if you hire this person before the end of the quarter, you'll get like, so it doesn't work for us. And so that's why I find it super fascinating, because I think it plays out in other industries. And even though I have good sales experience, that's the one thing I haven't experienced. I always find these stories fascinating.
I mean, I should answer the question because I always get accused of not answering the question on Topline Hotline.
Do it.
There's a lot of
Answer the
discounting. My take on this is, let's theoretically say that you're looking at 3 players that do conversational intelligence, and they're all call listening, call recording, and they're all kind of doing something similar. The idea of having a bake-off does work pretty well in this world where there's consolidation of tools. So maybe it's not just conversational intelligence, but you're also looking at forecasting or sales engagement or whatever. And so the way I would think about it is that you have these tools, you're looking at value and over price, sure, but in a commoditized world, which I would categorize this as, you're really looking at price, and you have an opportunity to really play this off of each other. We've gone through something like this. And I'll just throw out numbers. We were paying $350 per user per month on 3 different tools. We wanted to consolidate that down. We went out to market. The best price came at like $240, and the tool that we wanted to use came at like $350. And so we ultimately just went back to that $350 and said, like, here's what we got. It was the last week of the month, quarter. I think it was the last week of the quarter, and we got it signed within a day. I will actually give this provider credit because they were like, well, this expires tomorrow at 10 a.m. And it was like on a Tuesday and the last day of the quarter was on Friday. And my RevOps leader, Brandon, was like, hey, this expires at 10 a.m. And I'm like, I don't have time, so no. And then I went to, they used this provider used Deal Hub, and at 10 like 20 I logged in, and it was like, it's expired, sorry, you can't sign it. I'm like, this is fine, do the sales thing. And I was like, Brandon, and then I signed it like 20 minutes later. It worked. It was actually adding a lot of urgency, but got a deal. We felt like it was a win, they felt like it was a win-win all along. Now, that said, I'm going to give Pablo Dominguez, who's on our board, Insight Partners, Sales Center of Excellence leader, a lot of credit for teaching me something really, I mean, a lot of sales leaders know value over price, but he gave a great analogy. Pablo is a mountain biker, and he goes to Moab every year. And he like has said, you wouldn't catch me dead on a cheaper bike. And I don't know what the costs were, but like when you think about it, a bike that's 2, 3, 4x, if you're a mountain biker at that level, is going to be worth it. And of course you have the suspension, and of course you have the tires, and of course you have all of those things. So in a non-commoditized, and if I'll play the Sam part, because Sam would be like, I disagree, AJ. In services, why would you want to start your partnership that way? Don't I sound like him? He's doing his part really well. He's going to be listening to this and just
like
shaking his
Sesame
head.
Street version.
Yeah, Sesame Street version of Sam. I've got a puppet of Sam right now. A Muppet. Oh, I'm not allowed to say Muppet. I think that's trademarked. A puppet of Sam right now.
Is Muppet not...
You're not allowed to say Muppet.
It's not kosher anymore. Okay.
No. It's trademarked. Like Sesame Street. You're not... They like, yeah, we're going to get a cease and desist from Sesame Street with Muppet. I think. Anyway, Sam would be saying, why would you want to start your services partnership in that level where you're like providing it? And I think that's fair to say. So it definitely depends on what you're doing. Now, SaaS businesses and a product, how much services are you really providing? It really comes down to a margin and the dollars and cents of the business.
So I think, so I actually wrote about this in this week's newsletter, if people want a deeper dive into this, because I do think that if capital allocation is the most important part of all of our jobs, then we have to really think about how to master it. And that means spending money, which means knowing how to buy things really efficiently and effectively. So I think you're right that if you're buying conversational intelligence, which is completely commoditized, meaning there's no differentiation between the products given mainly, like there's not. And so they don't have much leverage. I think it goes down to leverage, firstly, on the product side, where commoditized categories, they don't have leverage. So you're just going to play them off each other to get the best price possible. And as you said, let them know that they've been played against each other, share what the best price you got, wait till the end of quarter or end of year, and try to get that price at that point. That's when you have maximum leverage. But I think there's some categories where they aren't commoditized. I think of my business. So I buy LinkedIn Recruiter from LinkedIn. It is a better product by a margin of maybe 5x compared to anything comparable like Zoom Info's.
Yeah, there's nothing that's comparable to it, is there?
Many have built them. There's Find Them, and there's Zoom Info, and there's People GPT.
Did you say Find Them?
Find Them, yeah.
Like EM, FINDEM, Find Them.
Let's find them. Very innovative name. And so these are all like B, C grade players. They don't compare in terms of the quality of the product, partly because LinkedIn has a network moat, right? Like you and I will go and update our profiles because we use that social network for business purposes. And by us doing so, for a recruiter, you get really, really high quality data, completely up to date, mostly. And their in-mail system, which we use to reach out to candidates, 90% of these in-mails are opened and our response rates are 50% plus. So that's a really high quality product. We don't have much leverage there. We know that. You can't push LinkedIn on price much because they know that you're not going to go to the second or third player in this category. And so over there, you try to focus on other things. You try to focus on, well, what else can I get out of this? And so you might not get the licenses for cheaper, but you might get a lot of training. You might get faster implementation. You might get access to new products for very cheap. We got access to this tool called Talent Insights in the first year for hardly any money, which is now like a $70,000 a year license, an enterprise license. So you can get other things from companies like that, where they have the leverage and you're not going to get a better price point. On the services side, I think it is interesting because in the product side, you're buying something that's already been built, right? It's been built. You're going to buy it. You kind of know what tangible value you're going to get. It trades in a range based on implementation quality, but you know what that range is, give and take. On the services side, you're taking a leap of faith. You're taking a leap of faith that they got this. They can solve my problem. And the problem solving happens after you say yes to them to work with them. And so over there, I think if you push somebody on price way too much, there are depreciating returns that kick in. There's a reason why people don't negotiate with doctors, divorce lawyers, physiotherapists, etc. I had to get the divorce lawyer.
I swear we're gonna find like some hidden connection that you will make on episode 100 between divorce lawyers and Topline. Don't get it.
But it's true, right? Like, you're not going to ask your cardiologist, your
Right.
lawyer, your accountant, maybe your accountant. You're not going to ask these people for discounts because you just want them to take it very seriously and do their best work. And so I think there is a huge nuance between services and products.
Yeah, at the same time though, you're right with LinkedIn where it's like Talent Insights, we're going to give it away basically, and then once they get you hooked, then they're going to probably jack up the price. Or the other way where you did, like, I said Gong. I know Gong was very, very expensive during COVID because everyone's in a remote work and you're doing this call recording. But now everyone's kind of like back down. So when RevOps leaders are going through the renewal, they have choices and they have opportunities. So you got to remember that, and both in a discounting and in a world where
as the provider.
Yeah. So
I think, what's really fascinating? So 99% of buyers, when they buy something, they say they're very happy with their purchase, very or somewhat happy with their purchase. All of them go through this about 80% of them go through a 6-month process of evaluating 3 to 5 different providers before they buy something. But a huge majority, 70% plus of them, buy the thing that was number one on their shortlist anyway. And when they buy it, they're like, we're thrilled. But once you wait some time and go back to them, we know the churn numbers were up last year, and things that are working really well rarely churn. We know that there was a lot of tech bloat that happened. There was, I think 66% of salespeople complain about how many technologies they have to switch between. I think a company called this the toggle tax, which I thought was really interesting. So this isn't a strength in our ecosystem. It's not like we're very good at buying. I think we firstly tilt towards buying technology to solve every problem. And actually, you have 3 choices. You have status quo, you have automation, you have outsourcing. Automation's not always the best option.
agree.
But we tilt towards trying to solve everything with technology, and then we buy in a way that indicates confirmation bias. It indicates exuberance at the onset, and then we learn our lessons later on. So it is something our ecosystem has to prioritize and get good at this.
All right. Pink Panther, by the way, that was the ditty that I did at the beginning of this. Do 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 do. That's I Dream of Genie. I just wanted to be really clear about this. This has been a great episode of Topline Hotline. Sorry, Sam, you missed out. Thank you from AJ Bruno, CEO of QuotaPath, and Asad Zaman, CEO of STA. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.